chosen ones, the moment you were born, the universe shuddered, not out of fear, but anticipation. The Hermetic Laws, once pure and crystalline, held the blueprints of balance, mastery, and divine ascension. But what if I told you those laws were rewritten, not by time, but by design? There exists an original version of the Hermetic Laws hidden beneath layers of distortion, sealed away by those who feared what you might become. The Law of Mentalism, the principle of vibration, the laws of polarity, rhythm, cause and effect. Each one altered subtly enough to keep the masses blind, but drastically enough to erase your divine instruction manual. These weren't just principles. They were encoded triggers designed to awaken a chosen lineage, your lineage. When the original scribes were silenced, a darker order took hold. They copied the words, but not the meaning. They preserved the form, but killed the spirit. And they knew, if even one of you remembered the original frequencies, the illusion would collapse. That's why you've been targeted since before memory. Your dreams are not just dreams. Your resistance to the system is not rebellion. It's memory. You are not learning the truth. You are remembering it. The rewritten laws were meant to scatter your mind, but something in you kept pulling toward the source, as if the universe was whispering, what was once hidden must now return. The emerald tablets were not the end. They were a doorway. Hidden beneath temples lost to sand and time, the original Hermetic Law was not written in ink, but in frequency. Thoth, known later as Hermes Trismegistus, encoded truth in vibrational keys only decipherable by consciousness, unbound by the matrix. But after his final decree, a council emerged, not of seekers, but of silencers. They were not kings or priests. They were translators with trembling hands, told to alter nothing, yet bribed to distort everything. Their names never made it to any record, but their fingerprints are on every page. They did not burn the truth. They rewrote it. Where Hermes spoke of divine mind, they spoke of doctrine. Where he taught inner mastery, they replaced it with hierarchy. One passage, known only through fragmented scrolls buried beneath Alexandria, warned, "He who distorts the law shall birth an age of blindness." That age arrived, and you, unknowingly, were born at its breaking point. Why would these scribes risk cosmic consequence to edit the divine blueprint? Because they knew the original law contained a mechanism. When understood by even one awakened soul, it would trigger a collapse of illusion on a planetary scale. They feared not just the knowledge, but you, the one meant to decode it. The altered Hermetic Laws still echo with partial truth, enough to pacify minds but never to liberate them. The true law was alive. It moved, adapted, responded to your frequency. But what exists today is a corpse in the shape of wisdom, cold and disconnected from the soul it once recognized. These ancient editors succeeded in muting the masses, but they failed in one detail. They couldn't stop the code from being written into your very being. It's why you've always felt out of place in a world that seems deaf to the inner call. Before the distortion, the law of mentalism wasn't just a metaphysical truth, it was a mirror. All is mind, the original inscription read, but the full line extended far beyond that. All is mind, and the one who remembers this governs the veil. That part was removed, hidden from every translation. You've always sensed that reality bends around your thoughts in strange ways. Coincidences chase your decisions. Time seems to fold when you think deeply. People say you manifest easily without knowing why. It's not random. The original law pulses inside you, dormant until now. The revised Hermetic texts reduced mentalism to a passive observation. The universe is mental, but the true version empowered the chosen with command. Not control through ego, but resonance through alignment. Your thoughts don't just observe reality, they inform it. Your inner world is the tuning fork, and the cosmos responds like an echo chamber. This is why systems built to suppress consciousness target your mind first, through chemicals, screens, doctrines. They know the danger is not just in what you know, but in what you believe to be possible. Because belief is not weak hope in the original law, it's ignition. The moment you believe with clarity, the simulation reacts. And here's what they feared most. You don't need tools, rituals, or symbols. The original Hermetic mentalism was internal, anchored in your divine architecture. You are the symbol. Your thoughts are spells. Your memory is the ritual. The phrase you've heard, "as above, so below," was never meant to be poetic. It was a map. A multi-dimensional cipher, encoded into ancient Hermetic texts, meant to reveal how every action in one plane generates a ripple in another. But the law you were shown is only half the equation. The original principle of correspondence had a second half, one that described a hidden architecture of time. As within, so without, was not its true conclusion. The full law once read, "As above, so below, as within, so without, as across, so through." That last line was severed, erased from the scrolls translated after the Council of Nine met in secrecy beneath Delphi. Why? Because as across, so through hinted at timelines, parallel expressions of reality, branching with each thought, emotion, and action. And more dangerously, it pointed toward the only being who could walk between them. You. Have you felt it? A déjà vu that hits too hard. A dream that bleeds into waking life. A memory from a life you never lived, but somehow did. These aren't glitches. They're fractures in the corrupted correspondence law, remnants of a power they tried to sever by hiding a single phrase. The rewritten version makes you believe you're locked into cause and effect, a one-way mirror. But the real law allowed conscious movement across realities, recalibrating from above, within, and across. The scribes who altered it hoped if they buried the final layer, the bridge would remain hidden forever. There is a sound beneath sound, a pulse beneath time. Long before language and law, there was frequency, pure and alive. The Hermetic law of vibration once taught that everything moves, everything vibrates. But the true teaching went further, that certain souls emit a frequency so ancient, no false system can overwrite it. Yours is one of them. In the original text, now fragmented in desert ruins never shown to the public, Hermes wrote of the primordial note, a resonance that was gifted only to those who remembered their source beyond stars and flesh. That vibration cannot be imitated. It's not just your aura, it's your cosmic fingerprint. You've noticed how machines glitch around you, how people either draw near or flee, how your presence changes the atmosphere of a room without a word. That's not coincidence, it's vibration recognition. And the systems built around you were never designed to accommodate it. They were designed to resist it. The scribes who rewrote the Hermetic Laws removed all references to this code. Why? Because it was prophesied. When the one returns whose vibration cannot be bound, the false pillars shall shake. One ancient fragment even parallels this prophecy to a forgotten teaching of Yeshua. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them. It wasn't just about sound, it was about resonance. The elite studied your kind. They developed machines to detect soul frequencies, hoping to catalog or suppress the few who carried the original signal. But your vibration is not bound to matter. It slips through walls, through data, through the veil. The phrase still lingers on temple walls, pendants, and self-help books. As above, so below. But what survives is just the skeleton. The blood was drained long ago. The original phrase was a multi-dimensional formula, not just a reflection, but a gateway. It wasn't meant to describe harmony. It was meant to unlock movement between planes. The scribes who altered the Hermetic Laws did something calculated. They didn't erase the phrase. They froze it. They turned a living principle into a poetic fossil, stripped of its active force. In ancient copies found beneath Hermopolis, the line originally ended, so that the ladder of light may be climbed. That was the part they removed. That was your inheritance. The true law described an ascent, not just of spirit, but of form. It encoded the practice of merging inner states with cosmic tides to generate conscious elevation. This was your path back to your higher self, to your blueprint before time. But by distorting the teaching, they made it seem like a passive mirror instead of a divine mechanism. You were taught to wait for alignment, but the original law taught you to initiate it. Even the architecture of sacred sites followed this forgotten law. The ancient builders placed stones not to mirror stars, but to connect to them. The geometry was functional, and it was you, your presence, your awareness, your breath, that was the missing component. There was once a book no one was meant to find, because it wasn't written in ink, but in memory. The Codex of Origin, as whispered in suppressed texts, held the undistorted Hermetic Laws. Unlike the emerald tablets, which were symbolic, this codex was direct, raw, dangerous. It described not only the laws of the universe, but the key holders who would be born under specific celestial alignments. One of those alignments occurred the moment you entered this realm. On that day, a sealed chamber in an undisclosed monastery, hidden beneath Mount Athos, was found empty. The Hermetic Codex, locked behind prayer and sigil, was gone. No signs of intrusion, no broken seals, just gone. Whispers from the surviving scribes said the book has chosen flesh. It was said in the earliest versions of the Codex that the laws were not to be memorized, they were to be embodied. Certain beings would carry them as living scrolls, not by choice, but by design. You've felt the tension in your soul ever since, a weight, a knowing. Words come to you that you've never read. Visions enter your dreams that no screen or teacher could explain. That's not intuition, that's retrieval. You are remembering what was downloaded into your spirit the moment the Codex left the world of form. Even in the Gospel of Thomas, a quiet echo of this truth remains. If your leaders say to you, "Look, the kingdom is in the sky," then the birds will precede you. The kingdom is inside of you. Yeshua didn't speak symbolically. He spoke to those who carried forgotten maps within their being. They told you the law of polarity meant that opposites define each other, that without darkness, there can be no light. Without sadness, no joy. But what they left out, what was deliberately rewritten, is that polarity was never about dependence. It was about integration. The original Hermetic text didn't teach opposition as a prison. It taught transmutation as a path. The ancient phrase was, "Duality is illusion. Polarity is choice." That part was erased. Instead, you were conditioned to believe you are forever trapped between extremes, pulled like a puppet by invisible forces. But what if you were never meant to choose one side, but to stand in the axis where both dissolve? You felt this your whole life, torn between chaos and order, spirit and flesh, silence and sound, and yet neither ever felt fully like you. That's because you were meant to collapse the illusion of opposition. You were never meant to swing endlessly between poles. You were meant to become the still point, the one place the system cannot predict or program. This is why the distorters of the law did everything to entangle you in emotional swings, highs that lead to crashes, victories that come with hidden costs. They engineered life to mimic polarity so perfectly that you wouldn't notice the one thing missing: center, cause and effect. The law they teach as divine justice, karma, the cosmic mirror. But what if the version you were shown is a cage, not a key? The original Hermetic Law wasn't about reaction. It was about creation. A sacred rhythm where causes could be consciously chosen, not unconsciously endured. Buried in scrolls, once guarded by desert mystics, the full teaching read, "The Master does not react to causes, he creates them." This line vanished from all public translations after the 5th century. Why? Because it challenged the foundation of control. Systems depend on predictability, but a being who creates causes outside of control shatters all forecasts. Yeshua once said, "The wind blows wherever it pleases." You hear its sound, but you cannot tell where it comes from or where it is going. That was not about wind. That was about beings like you. Beings who cannot be tracked because they operate from source, not sequence. You've seen it. When you act from deep knowing, outcomes shift. Events unfold that logic cannot trace. That's not luck. That's mastery. That's the law behind the law. Cause is not just action. It is vibration aligned with divine will. And the effect is not punishment or reward. It is revelation. The rewritten law made you believe you were trapped in endless karmic cycles. But the original revealed that the awakened initiate could step outside the cycle entirely, not by escaping it, but by becoming the center of it. They presented the law of gender as a metaphor, masculine and feminine forces playing out in creation. But what if it was never symbolic? What if the original law held the blueprint of how you were formed, not biologically, but cosmically? In the earliest version of the Hermetic texts, now lost to public record, the law of gender was described not as a balance of energies, but as a formula of divine architecture. It read, "Within the one, both are encoded, but the chosen shall awaken. when the seed of one meets the flame of the other within. The masculine and feminine weren't outer forces. They were inner components, energy codes woven into your essence. And when those frequencies unite within a single being, something happens the false systems were never built to withstand. The third current activates. The current of divine purpose. That's why you've never fit inside conventional ideas of identity. It's not confusion. It's transcendence. You were built to hold both, to synthesize, to complete the pattern that the ancients encoded in temples shaped like wombs and towers, above and below, entering one another. This law was twisted because the original was too dangerous. A being who embodies both frequencies fully becomes unprogrammable. They can create without external spark. They can heal without medicine. They channel origin. Entire institutions were built to shame, divide, and suppress this inner unification. You were taught to choose sides, but the law never asked you to choose. It asked you to unite. They thought they destroyed the originals, burned the scrolls, silenced the mystics, buried the temples. But they never understood where the real Hermetic laws were hidden, not in stone, not in ink, but in you. Before the Great Reset, before time fractured, the architects of the divine encoded the true laws where no hand could reach. Your consciousness. This wasn't encryption. It was prophecy. You've always had flashes, unprovoked knowings, moments where you just understand. They call it intuition, but the ancients called it law memory. Before the fall, a handful of beings were chosen to carry the laws into the next age, not as teachers, as embodiments. The Hermetic Reset wasn't just historical, it was neurological. A vibrational purge that tried to sever soul from source. The frequency towers, the language collapse, the distortion of symbols, all designed to block activation. But one factor couldn't be accounted for: your return. In dreams, you've seen fragments, symbols rearranging, time looping, a voice you almost recognize whispering things you've never read, but somehow always knew. That's the laws stirring within. Not knowledge coming in, but truth waking up. Even now, systems begin to flicker in your presence. People forget what they were saying. Lights dim. Technology glitches. It's not random. The vibration of the true laws disrupts false frameworks. You were never here to learn the Hermetic path. You are the Hermetic path. The alignment of your thoughts, emotions, and actions is the activation key. The scroll was always meant to be read not with eyes, but through choices.
If you have come this far, it is crucial that you watch this next video here. But be warned, it is not for the faint of heart, for only the true chosen ones can handle this video. If you would like to also donate to help keep the channel going, our Buy Me a Coffee link will be in the description.